Well, you know, my mom had known Paulie Stivaleta was always like an uncle, you know. The Stivaleta family was you know, we grew up around. My father and Paulie boxed together since they were like late teens, and they turned pro together, and they trained together, and Paulie used to spar with the former state auditor Joe DiNucci, who was the longest running elected official in the State House as Massachusetts state auditor. Well, he was a world middleweight contender. My father and Joe DiNucci were the ones that originally taught myself and my little brother Snubby how to box in the CYO boxing program in West Newton. But like Paulie Stiv and Joe DiNucci used to spar together back in the day too. You know, boxing is a small, you know, it's a tight-knit community. Like most everybody knows each other. But you know, it's a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. All right, so it's the Larry Davis fight. That was in Lowell. It was in the Lowell Sheridan, and I went 24-0 that night. And Larry Davis was, you know, he had one of them weird records where like he was an opponent, but you had to be careful of him. If you did not do the right, if you didn't go right at him, if you let him come at you, he had the power to. He'd knock you out. Like Vinny warned me, because Larry Davis, you know, a story has it that Larry had banged around or knocked down Marvelous Marvin Hagler sparring. Nobody knows the truth of the validity to the story, but the guy was a known tough guy, and if you gave him room, if you gave him enough room, he'd go to town on you. But if you went right at him, put the pressure on him from the get-go, then it would put him in his place as the opponent. And I was very good at that. Every fight, I'd go right at you, just like when I had Tyson, just like I went right at Butterbean. The fight with Larry Davis, went right at him, and I worked his body. And you know, and I ended up, you know, TKOing him, and you know, that was that. You know, that was got me to 24-0. But during that fight, or right before the fight, my mother got interviewed by an old family friend who was working for Dedham Area Cable. Paulie Stivaleta interviewed my mom before the fight. And Paulie had interviewed my father and me at the Whitman Armory for Dedham Area Cable. A lot of my footage did get aired on Dedham Area Cable. You know, I had 54 pro fights. So, I mean, there's probably like eight fights of mine, 9 tops. They're out there on YouTube. But I had 54 pro fights. You know, so you can't judge a book by its cover, you know, by what little of my fights you see on YouTube. But yeah, I always tried my best. I always went right at the guy and tried to get him out of it.
Here in round 1, Larry Davis in the black trunks versus Hurricane McNeeley in the green. Peter going to work early, Paulie.
Yep, he's going in and moving in and trying to size up his opponent as quickly as possible so he can start throwing some serious punches in there.
A gale warning has been issued. Now McNeeley misses with the left hand, ducks underneath. He's a compact fighter. He stays low, Paulie.
Yep, he's bobbing very well for a big guy coming in low, which is good, and hands up in front of his face, which is good for a heavyweight to do.
Tough to tag him in the face, keeps his guard up. Now McNeely backs Davis into the ropes right in front of our cameraman, Peter McGowan. Mike Ryan is the official for the fight. Two judges are Andy Mason from Winchester and Ed Marchand from Reading. Now, right now, Hurricane going to work right in front of us.
Well, Peter McNeely just landed a nice left hook to Hurricane Davis, and he's starting to get some punches off McNeely. He's going to start, as this fight progresses, as seconds go by, you're going to start seeing some leather fly here.
In a big way. Davis trying to utilize his reach over Hurricane McNeely. Misses with a left uppercut.
Yep, Davis is stepping back, waiting for an opportunity. Looks like another counter puncher here, waiting for McNeely coming in to see if he can get off a good right hand. But McNeely's hitting with some serious body blows.
And he dropped him. He dropped him, Paulie. It was a sneaky right hand that just dropped Davis.
That was an inside punch. The back was to us. McNeely hit him right in the breadbasket with that one. Took the wind out of him.
That's it. That's it. Mike Ryan has stopped the fight. Davis went down to his knees. I saw it, Paulie. It was a mystery right hand. I caught it, though, and it was a stinging right hand for our viewers at home. Maybe we can slip in a replay. The Hurricane goes to 24-0. This one was a quick one.
Yes, we didn't see it. The back was to us, but McNeely got a nice, good right hand right into the body, into the breadbasket, took the wind right out of his opponent. Opponent couldn't do anything. Dropped him right to his knees, and he was out of there, right with that punch.
Yeah, this fight lasted half a drink.
Yeah, just a half. We didn't have one yet, but I will have one after this. McNeely did very well. He still wants to keep fighting, I guess. He just backed back at his opponent. It wasn't a good start off. McNeely needs to go a few more rounds, and we're hoping his opponent was capable of doing that. But you got to punch each time you punch. You got to punch for real. You can't hold anything back, and you land like that. Especially with heavyweights, you get one good punch takes a guy out in just seconds, and we just seen that happen in front of us.
Well, Hurricane McNeely went over to Davis's corner to shake hands. Davis says, "Get lost." Lack of class there, and McNeely says, "Be gone with you."
That's right. McNeely showed good sportsmanship, as well as being a good sport. He's a good fighter. The other guy lost, and because with that loss, he went out with a bad attitude, and that doesn't do him any good justice.
I think he's lucky that they stopped the fight because he can walk on under his own volition as opposed to going out on a stretcher to intensive care.
Well, that's right. I think if the fight went on a little longer, he would have got a lot more punishment, Davis, and wish that he probably did go out the way he did. Probably in his favor, and as far as this issue is concerned.
Boy, the Hurricane came quickly. It really tacked to the land, and when it hit land, it devastated everything in its wake. In fact, we should change his name from Hurricane McNeely to Microwave McNeely because it only takes him a minute and 5 seconds.
Yep, we could use both, Hurricane, Microwave, whatever. McNeely seems to be doing that at each fight. He had some good fights, the 10-round fights. He went with some tough opponents, and shows that he can not only catch, but he can pitch as well, and he can take it to it. And that's what is the making of a good heavyweight champion. Like his father, he's got a tremendous conditioning, good training. Vinny Vecchione does a great job, and he's got the heart and the lion of his father, and he's got everything going for him. And as we've seen, his 24th win here, I think it is. And he's doing well. We wish it lasted a little longer, but that's what happens with heavyweights. You just don't know. We saw it happen with Liston and Patterson. We didn't expect that fight to last a minute, and it was a minute. People thought it was a bad fight. It was a fixed fight. We saw it happen in Lewiston, Maine, with Cassius Clay and Sonny Liston. I happened to be there at ringside with Liston, and nobody thought that would ever happen. So it does happen, especially with big heavyweights. You know, it just takes one punch, and it's all over. And you know that surprise punch that nobody sees? Well,
I saw it. I kept my eyes open. It was a quick right hand, folks. I mean, a devastating right hand that just dropped Davis to his knees. He was buckled as soon as it connected.
And Lewiston, Maine is still talking about that right hand from Clay that nobody saw, but I was at ringside with Liston's corner, and I saw it, but it was a delayed action, and Liston went down. Well, we've seen that here tonight, and that happens not too many times, but it happens. And some people don't believe it does happen, but the only way you know that it happens, you have to be up in there. Not too many people want to get up in there.
I think the only thing that Peter McNeely has to ask himself now is, does he take a shower? He didn't even break a sweat.
Well, I think he should take a shower just for good luck. He's taking showers every other time. Might as well continue something.
So Peter McNeely goes to 24-0, stays undefeated as he just devastates Larry Davis, knocked him right out in the opening round. So we hope you enjoyed tonight's dockets of fights.
I just found out from the announcer that Davis dislocated his shoulder, so he was unable to continue. Took a bad shot, but his shoulder was thrown out. That does happen, and he couldn't move his arm. They had to stop the fight.
Oh, so he dislocated his shoulder.
Found that out from the ring announcer. There was he got hit a bad shot, but he dislocated his shoulder, and they had to stop the fight. Couldn't put his shoulder back in place.
Huh. So when a fighter like that, I've heard of dislocated elbows. Fighters can dislocate elbows as well.
Definitely, shoulders, elbows do go out, and especially shoulders. Especially with fighters, big throwing punches and miss. The worst thing to do is a miss, and throwing you might have done that in life. If you try to throwing a baseball is one thing, but try to throw the same speed without a baseball in your hand, and you almost throw your arm out. You got to have something behind it. Or throwing a punch, and it's not no object in front of it, and it goes out the full length. You're able to pull your elbow out, snap it, or throw your shoulder out.
What happens now for Peter McNeeley? A lot more fighters duck him, or what?
Well, the better the record, the better he looks. Of course, it ain't the fighters ducking him. It's the trainers and the managers don't want putting their opponents with a guy that's got a great record and and there's a danger at all times. Everybody wants to get their fighters. How you manage them? Keep them away from the hard bangers, the tough fighters, and sneak them through and get them a lot of wins and get them a title shot. So McNeeley, the tougher he gets, the harder it's going to be to get opponents. Then again, the tougher he gets and the more wins he's got, may be able to see a championship fight. Watching Peter McNeeley fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world, and that would be something.
You heard it.
See.
Absolutely, folks. 24-0, as Paulie said, his quest towards being the heavyweight champion. So, we're going to be back with our final bout right after this. You're watching ABT Pro Boxing.
Nancy, I've known you for quite some years, and I wanted to ask you a couple of questions for the cable here. Knowing that you've been around the fight game for quite some time, how does it feel seeing your son Peter up there? I'd like to know what it feels with a mother sitting here. I never had my mother in one of my fights because she just wouldn't go. And now that seeing you here, I'd like to know how you feel, and probably the public does too.
Your mother was probably very wise to stay home. I'm thinking that as I go along following Peter's career, that as much as I feel compelled to be here to support him, that with each fight, I'm probably thinking that the next one I might decide to stay home. I do know a lot about the game, Paul, as you know, and we've been friends for years coming to these fights, and of course watching Peter's dad, and he did a wonderful job in his career, and of course one of the four boys was going to do this, and it's Pete, and we just support him and wish him the best, but it's not fun.
No, I guess not, but I'd like to say, Nancy, when it comes to mothers, I guess you are a champion yourself. You're a champion of mothers. When it comes to taking care of your kids and supporting your children, I know that. I've known you for quite some time, and it's such a pleasure to see you here, and I know what you're going through.
Thank you
I want to
very much.
honor you for that, and hope that a lot of mothers understanding their sons, whether they become football players or hockey players or fighters, have that same backing for their children, because trying to stop them, could do more harm than let them go forward and give them that support. And you're one that has, and we admire you, and you will always be a champion as far as mothers are concerned to us.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Great job, Paul. Thank you very much, Mrs. McNeeley. So the finals here in the pro fights.